everyone, this is Helen and welcome to Modern Pepper. So today we are continuing with our banchan series from last week. Last week we made 계란말이 and today we will be making Gamja-Jorim. And Gamja-Jorim is basically potatoes braised in this mixture of soy sauce. It is so yum and it is a very simple banchan recipe. Now for those of you who are like, what is banchan? Banchan is basically side dishes. A typical Korean meal always consists of a bowl of rice and a series of banchan. Now, depending on the meal of the day, if it's breakfast, it's more simple, but if it's a dinner, then you have more selection of banchan. You know, banchan could also be very frugal and very simple to very fancy. In 계란말이, what we made last week is sort of on the fancier side of banchan, and today we're going to make a sort of, you know, not so fancy banchan. And yes, it's simple, but it is super tasty, and all you need is a bowl of rice, Gamja-Jorim, and a little bit of kimchi, and those three things is a perfect trifecta for a really yummy meal. So before we continue, I want to phonetically teach you how to pronounce Gamja-Jori. Gamja means potatoes, Jori means braised. Gamja is pronounced G-H-A-M, Gamja, J-A, Jo, J-O, Rim, R-I-M. So Gamja-Jorim, Gamja-Jorim. I was born in Seoul, but I grew up in a province called Gangwon-do, and Gangwon-do province is well known for harvesting one of the yummiest, or if not the best, potatoes. So I grew up consuming loads and loads of really yummy potatoes, and Gamja-Jorim was a staple banchan in my household that my grandmother used to make for me all the time. So this is her simple recipe that I'm going to share with you. And if you happen to have relatives in Gangwon-do, or if you grew up in Gangwon-do like myself, make sure to drop me a line and say hello. I like to say hello to my fellow Gangwon-do countrymen and women. So my other favorite ways of enjoying Gamja is making Gamja buchim, which is you take potatoes, you puree it, and you make it into these like potato pancakes. It's your Korean version of latga. Amazingly so good. So I'm so excited to share that recipe with you too later on. So make sure to subscribe. I also grew up eating potatoes cooked with rice. So my grandmother would throw like whole potatoes in the pot with the rice and cook it together. And I'm like drooling in my mouth thinking about it, because you would get a bowl of rice and like big chunks of like steaming potato with your rice, and you just crush it all up and eat it. Oh, so good. If you haven't noticed, I really enjoy eating, by the way. So anyway, all right, so let's get started. You could use any potato of your choice. I have about 6 medium-sized potatoes. You don't need to pre-soak it because we're just gonna go straight into blanching them in hot water. So I have some potatoes that I already cut up, and you just wanna basically cut everything into like similar sizes, okay? So let's cut one together, down the middle, put it flat, and then let's cut these guys into 3 sections. Like so, and then add it to your platter. And you need a half of a large size onion, and we're just gonna cut them into big pieces. So down the middle, 1 slice here, 2, 3. So that all the pieces are roughly about the same size, about this big, because the onions are gonna be a secondary star to our potatoes. These guys are gonna be so good braised in our soy sauce mixture. So yum. So the next ingredient you need is, I have 2 large garlic cloves. So if your garlic cloves are small, use about 3 or 4. So you cut the root end off like that. Then you take your knife, make a fist, and you strike it down. And then you strike it down again, because that's how you can remove the skin of your garlic clove, and it just literally just comes off like that. And then we want to finely mince our garlic. Gather them up. The smell of garlic is so nice. I love the smell of garlic. But I want to clarify, I like the smell of garlic. That doesn't mean that I want to smell like garlic. I do not like to smell like garlic. I love the taste of garlic though. There's a huge difference, I say. We're gonna put this on our platter. And to make our soy sauce mixture, we need 1/3 cup of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of honey, 2 tablespoons of mirin, rice wine, and 1 tablespoon of butter. And we need 1 cup of hot water. And some toasted sesame seeds for garnishing. So now let's get started on making our Gamja-Jorim at the stove. It's gonna be so yum. In a medium-sized pot, add your potatoes. Then fill the pot with some cold water. And notice that I did not turn on my stove heat yet. And we want to fill the water so that it's about 1 inch above your potato. And to this, we're gonna add some salt. And that's just to create a little bit of a salt bath. And if you're asking how much salt to add, just add enough salt so that if you have a taste, it should taste slightly salty. Not too salty, but just slightly salty. And then now we're gonna turn on the heat at super high. And once it starts boiling, we're gonna let it cook uncovered for 5 minutes. And now our water is boiling. So make sure to keep your stove heat at high, and from here, let it boil on high temperature for 5 minutes. And I know some of you are asking, well, why didn't you add the potatoes once the water was boiling? Well, because if you add potatoes to a pot of boiling water, the potatoes will literally become sponge and like fall apart. So if you want to keep your potatoes intact, you want to cook your potatoes with cold water and bring it up to boiling temperature. Now I want to make a quick announcement that next week's recipe will be on making 고춧가루 양념장, which is basically Korean red pepper flakes marinade paste. So 고춧가루 양념장 is a staple seasonings paste that is used to make a variety of spicy stews, from tteokbokki, which is rice cakes, to 매운탕, which is fish stew, to spicy 전골s, to 순두부찌개, or spicy tofu soup. So make sure to tune in for that because it is super easy to make and it will take your stew to another level of super awesome yumminess. So make sure to subscribe. If you have not subscribed, make sure to click on that subscribe button that you see at the corner. Click on that so that we can make our spicy pepper marinade paste together next week. So while our potatoes cooking, we're gonna get started on our soy sauce mixture. So add about 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Make sure to preheat your frying pan so that it's really hot. My heat is at high temperature right now, and we're gonna add our onions. So your frying pan should be hot that when you add your onions, you should hear the sizzling sound. We're gonna add some freshly ground black pepper. We're gonna add 2 pinches of salt and just move it around. And we wanna lightly brown our onions. Give it about 2 minutes. And it's been about a good 1.5 to 2 minutes on super high heat. And to this, we're gonna add 1 cup of hot water. So at this point, you do not want to add cold water to your pan. You want to continue building on your temperature. Ooh, look at that. I love the sound. And then now we're going to add our garlic. Mix it well. We're going to add our soy sauce, our mirin. Our heat is still at high as we're making this sauce. And 2 tablespoons of honey. Now, you could definitely use sugar instead. I prefer to not cook with refined sugar, but that's just my personal preference. So you could use sugar instead of honey. And we just want to cook this out on super high heat for about good 2 minutes. All right, it's been good 2 minutes. So here's one of the potatoes that we've been boiling. And what you want to do is just take your chopstick and you want it so that it breaks but not fall apart completely on its own. Do not overcook your potatoes, okay? We want it so that it's slightly still firm. So if you take your chopstick, it doesn't easily go in, but it's cooked halfway. So we're gonna add our potatoes to our sauce. And just mix the potatoes with our soy sauce mixture so the potatoes have an opportunity to kind of swim and get soaked up in this delicious soy sauce mixture. This is going to be so good. So make sure all the potatoes are nicely coated in this mixture. And we're going to let this cook for 3 minutes. been about a minute and a half, and you just want to make sure to just kind of move everything around so that all the sides of the potato has a chance to sort of marinate and cook in the soy sauce mixture. So let this go for another minute and a half, and we're doing this on low medium heat. And this is right now kind of at its final stages of braising. So we'll be back in about a minute and a half. All right, it's been a minute and a half. So a total of 3 minutes of braising on medium to low medium temperature. And I just added a tablespoon of butter. And now you're like, what? Butter in Korean food? Yeah, why not? Butter makes everything taste so good. So if you don't want to add butter, that's totally up to you. But adding a tablespoon of butter at this point is going to take your potato braised banchan side dish to another level of uber yumminess. A lot of people that I know in the restaurant world, in Korean restaurants, use butter because butter really does make everything taste just extra little, you know, it gives you that extra of yumminess. So once the butter is melted, this is ready. But I just want you to look at the thickness. All the liquid has almost evaporated. There isn't much liquid. And look, it's like these potatoes are just like completely drenched in our soy sauce mixture. OMG, this looks so good. Okay, now we're just gonna plate it. Look at that. This looks so yum. And look at the spatula. You could give this spatula to your favorite child so he or she could lick it. It's just so good. You can't waste this, can you? Haha. Okay, final touch. Just a few slices of green onion like so. And we're gonna add just a sprinkle of toasted sesame seeds, gesogum, and voila, look at that, it's ready. Now it's very, very important to transfer your potatoes to your bowl as soon as it's done cooking because you want the potatoes to stop cooking so that the inside is still somewhat firm and the outside is soft. But if you let your potatoes hang out and cool down in the hot frying pan, it will overcook and your potatoes will start breaking down and turn into a mush. All right, now it's time to taste. All right, I've waited long enough. I'm starving. I've been drooling as I was making this. I almost wanted to stop filming so I could have a little bite before I taste with you, but I didn't want to cheat, so I'm gonna taste this with you. So let's first start with the potato. Potato is one of those vegetables that's just like, I don't think I can live without. It's literally melting in my mouth. The potato isn't so soft that it's just falling apart, but it's kind of still sort of intact, but then, you know, you kind of mush it around in your mouth and then it just, oh my God, it's so creamy. And the sauce, I can't even tell you. Adding that 1 tablespoon of butter took this sauce to another level of like super umami deliciousness. But if you don't want to add the butter, don't add it, it's okay. All right, so now I want to taste the sauce. So this dish, you make it so that it's a bit salty, that if you eat it alone, you're like, it's too salty. You want to make it sort of as a condiment so that if you have it with the rice, it's like a perfect balance. Then we taste our like gravy consistency soy sauce condiment. Oh my God, this is just gonna be like, I'm drooling even before I put it in my mouth. 너무 맛있어. Oh, that's so good. The sauce is soy saucy, but it has a little bit of that sweetness from the honey that we added. And then you could taste a little bit of the garlic, and then you taste additional sweetness from the onions that we added. But it's not like sugary taste, but it's just like the subtle sweetness that you get from the onions. And then all the sort of potatoes, some pieces kind of started falling apart, And so that made the soy sauce mixture a bit more thick and a bit more starchy. Oh wow, so yum. Okay. So I mentioned this last week when we made the 계란말이 banchan. And if you haven't seen that, check it out because that's like one of the most popular banchans to make in Korean cuisine. And I also have other videos on banchans like your classic Korean spinach banchan, 시금치 나물 무침, and 콩나물 무침, soybean sprouts banchan. So check those out too. So typical Korean meal, you have a bowl of rice, kimchi, and selection of banchans, your side dishes. So for me, you know, there's a saying in Korean like the more wealthy you are, you have a variety of selection of banchan, and within banchan there's like a full scale of like uber fancy banchan to more simple and more economical banchan, and Gamja potato is one of them. But it doesn't mean it doesn't rival the ones that are uber fancy too, because this is simple but yet it just hits the spot and it's so yum. So I just wanted to make that clear. So you always need to have Korean rice when you eat banchan. I mean, not all Asian rice are the same. So having jasmine rice with this, you'll get a better satisfaction having it with Korean rice and Korean banchan together. So if you have not seen my video on how to make Korean rice, make sure to check it out. I have a video called Korean Rice 101 for hangry souls, because when I'm hangry, if I have a bowl of rice, I feel much better. I don't know about you. Maybe you do too. I want to make a bite with some rice, potato. This is gonna be so yum. That is super good. The saltiness of the sauce with the rice, oh, it's a perfect balance. Like the rice loves the sauce and the sauce loves the rice. It's like they are meant to be together. Okay, so I also want to taste this with just the onions. The onions are so good. As you can hear, it's very crunchy still. I mean, the onions, I don't know, it's almost as good as the potatoes. Like I need both potatoes and the onions together to make a perfect balance. Gamja-Jorim, and I'm gonna have one kimchi. I mean, you know, when it comes to Korean food, like if you have kimchi and rice, you're almost halfway there. And any additional banchans you add to it, you know, it's like extra upgrade. Now that's a perfect bite of everything with a piece of kimchi. I mean, kimchi makes me feel whole. I mean, if I don't eat kimchi for over a week, then I'm not a really happy person. Food heaven, food heaven. I mean, I'm just gonna, oh, the onions are so good. Onion potatoes. Now, I also get it too, like not everyone has the energy or the luxury of time to make Korean rice at home. I highly recommend these microwavable Korean rice. I mean, this comes out tasting like it was just made and it is super yummy. I always have a few of these in my pantry because sometimes I am in a pinch. Any Korean supermarkets will have these. If you don't live near a Korean supermarket, make sure to check out my recipe blog, and I will have that blog link in the description box below. And I will list the online link for you to purchase this so that you could have it conveniently shipped to your house. If you want to make it kind of spicy, you could also add a little bit of jalapenos to make the sauce with a little bit of that tucked in spicy taste. You could do that. But for me, I grew up eating it this way, where my grandma used to make this for me. So it's really taking me back to my childhood, remembering my grandmother. And I think we all have foods where it really highlights or memorializes our childhood. And for me, it's Gamja-Jorim, where my grandma, this was her go-to banchan that she used to make at least like once or twice a week. And also we grew up in an area where potato was like everywhere. I kind of grew up Irish in that way, I guess. I grew up eating a lot of potatoes. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. And if you did, I would greatly appreciate a thumbs up. So please make sure to click on that thumbs up icon that's below this video box. And like I mentioned earlier, next week's video, we will be making pepper paste seasoning marinade. In Korean, it's called Gamja-Jori. And basically, it's a marinade that you make with Korean red pepper flakes called gochugaru. You use it as your seasoning paste to make a variety of spicy stews. So make sure to tune in for that, because if you are a fan of making Korean stews and jigaes, I mean, making this pepper paste seasoning marinade is really ideal to make your Korean stews taste super yummy. So I'm going to teach you how to make that, which is so simple. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, make sure to subscribe by clicking on that subscribe button that you see at the corner right there. Click on that so that we can make this gochugaru yangnyeom paste next week. And I hope you make this at home, because this is so simple to make. And when you're ready to make this, make sure to check out my blog for today's recipe, which will be on my website at modernpepper.com. And I will also have the recipe blog link in the description box below. So make sure to check it out when you are ready to make this. So I want to thank you so much for watching. And until next time, happy Gamja Jorim time with your friends and family. Bye now.